Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the witnesses for being here today. 710 days. 710 days. That's the number of days that we have been sworn in the 117th Congress, and we have had 5 subcommittee hearings and 3 full committee hearings on trade. That's it. We are a global partner in a global economy, and we have been sitting idly by while the rest of the world advances. 8 days out of 710 has been our level of engagement as a committee in the trade world. That is anemic. That is something that is unacceptable, and quite candidly, it's just political malpractice. Each of you have made a comment about how important it is that we are engaged in a global economy to grow jobs and protect the environment. Something that we can all agree on, something that we should be doing, and trade enforcement is important. But we have to be growing our presence around the world, and we have to be opening up new markets for many of our products. And thinking about where we are with GSP and MTB, the fact that we have not addressed that while there is wide bipartisan support, again, is malpractice. It's something that this committee should have already done, and the administration should have taken up already. The topic that we're talking about today is important. It's important to me as a Georgian because I look at the forest landowners and the timber producers in my great state of Georgia, and when there are illegal products that are dumped onto the market, it hurts us. And so we should be working on the enforcement mechanisms for multiple reasons. But we should also be expanding markets and looking at the things that we have done here in the U.S. to make our forests better, more sustainable, and to make our wood products better able to be exported around the world. We've mentioned conversations about dealing with energy in the European Union. We need to be talking about trade and with timber products into the EU. We need to be knocking down barriers so that American producers can export around the world. I believe that our strong economy is focused and should be focused on 3 major things. Number 1, having the right tax environment. Number 2, having the right regulatory environment, and having the right education environment. Doing all of those things to make America the most competitive place in the world to do business and making us the most competitive exporter globally. We should do this at a very, very high level. Unfortunately, we have been moving in the wrong direction, looking at doing things that actually make us less competitive around the world. We need to be focused on doing things that make American workers the most productive in the world by allowing investment in creativity and research and development. Then when this great nation produces a product, we need to protect that intellectual property at all costs. It's the one thing we do in America better than anywhere else in the world, which is to invent and innovate and solve the world's problems. And yet this administration continues with the World Trade Organization to dabble and give in the TRIPS waiver to give away the intellectual property for our COVID vaccines. That is absolutely wrong, and it's misguided. And it sets a dangerous precedent and a very slippery slope to begin to give away our intellectual property. We should protect it at all costs. We invented it. We've made the investment in it. Our companies are doing well in it. We need to sell that around the world. So I hope, and Mr. Chairman, again, a very important topic, both in terms of protecting our markets and in terms of protecting the environment, something that we can all agree on. But let's not sit idly by while the rest of the world passes us by. 8 days of committee hearings, not a single markup in 710 days. And the rest of the world is moving past us. We cannot sit back. This committee has a responsibility and is charged with being engaged in trade practices. And I believe fully when we are in the majority that you will see a much different stance from this committee engaging on trade. And it's not at the expense of just, of enforcement. We should do everything. We should be expanding agreements. We should be expanding market access. We should be making this country more competitive. We should be protecting our intellectual property. We should be doing all of those things while we do enforcement. It's not one or the other. It's all of the above. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, thank you for your commitment to make sure that our markets and our environment is protected. But let's make sure that we're doing everything that we can to grow the American economy in a sustainable way. Let's make sure that we are engaged early and often in trade agreements, and let's not have the anemic approach that we've seen over the last 2 years. It is important that we are leading the world in this regard. If for no other reason, pick an industry in your district, pick an industry in your state that's important, like timber is in mine, and let's find a way to make America not only the greatest country to do business, but the best export opportunity for our workers and our businesses around the country. That, Mr. Chairman, I will yield back.